I'm just in from doing some work outside just for a warm-up. I had this email come in to me today. I just want to read it to you. Hello Ian, first off, I have been following your blog for some time. One day I hope to be a bit bigger. As of now I'm running 75 to 100 colonies. Also I enjoy the great videos you upload. I'm trying to find a treatment plan for mites, but everything on the commercial page is like a big secret and they get all bent into shape when us small guys ask a question. Anyways, just looking for some insight, if you can, on what to do or how to figure out a treatment plan. Thank you for your time, my friend. Thanks for the question, Brian. I've been getting lots of requests from beekeepers for me to comment on my disease treatment regime within my apiary. I've been a little bit reluctant to, just for the reason that there's so many variables involved in this and it's not an easy answer, and you guys probably aren't going to get the answer that you're expecting from me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to provide you some feedback on your question on my disease management within my apiary, and I'm going to provide you some insight in just how I see it. Okay, so our challenge as beekeepers is to manage the disease within our apiary. We have a growing list of pests and parasites and virus and fungus and bacterial diseases which directly influence our hive's health. And the problem is we have so very few treatment options available. We're not able to effectively control the diseases as we need them to be controlled. It's very frustrating. We need more research and development into our industry to help find solutions for our diseases. So I implement a series of strategies to combat these honeybee diseases. So first off, I tap into specialists. Contact your provincial and state apiarist. These guys are there to help you. You know, phone them up, get to know their name, have them come out to your farm and have them demonstrate techniques to help you identify and determine diseases within your hives. The provincial apiarists are very well connected with universities and industry specialists. Use their experience and their expertise to help develop a solid foundation to develop a treatment plan. These guys are there to help you. So tap into their resources and it'll benefit your apiary tremendously. Varroa is our industry's #1 problem. And it's not so much the varroa mite, but it's the viral infections within the mite. The mite provides the opportunity for the virus to spread very easily. The mite is also the vector for the virus into the bees. I spend a lot of time monitoring my beehives. It just helps me bring together a complete, comprehensive disease situation, which then I can address. I will monitor for varroa. I use alcohol washes. Okay, so I run composite samplings of my apiary. And you want to take these samples as close to your brood nest as possible. And you want to gather up the young bees. That's where the mites are living, is right over the open brood, because they're ready to migrate into the cells and underneath the cappings to fully develop their life cycle. So you should be pulling up a brood frame and taking a sample right off the face of the brood frame. That's a lot of work, and the problem with these situations where it involves a little bit extra work, we don't get the job done. And I found that in my operation too. So what I do is I push the boundary a little bit on that sampling. So I tip my hive back and I take a sample of the bees right in the middle, as close to that brood nest as possible. So I figure right on the bottom, right in the middle of that cluster, I'm as close to that brood nest as I can possibly be. So I take a sampling of my bees from there. And this can be done very easily and quickly. Just tip back a hive and take a sample out of 5 or 6 hives per yard or such. And by doing that on a continual basis, I get a real accurate measurement of the mite infestation within my hives. I pull samples with a minimum of 100 bees, and the counts are done mites per 100. So I look at my thresholds on a percentage basis. I use a 1% spring threshold. The fall, late summer, fall, I'm looking at a 2.5 or a 3% threshold. So I use an Apivar treatment. It's a 3.3% Amitraz, and it's 1 strip per every 5 frames of bees. So a 42-day treatment. And it's very important that halfway through the treatment that you pull the strips, scrape them down, and reorganize them in the nest, just to make sure that you're targeting those mites. And I find in a single box arrangement, the mites have a lot harder time getting away from that treatment. So I find the efficacy of my mite treatment increases as I force the bees into a smaller area within that treatment period. We got to rotate our treatments best we can. Oxalic acid vapor seems to be a very effective treatment. I find a 2-gram single dose treatment effective in the fall, late fall, and I'm finding tremendous efficacy this way.
This morning we're out administering oxalic acid. We use a ProVap 110. It's a oxalic acid vaporizer, and we're administering 2 to 3 grams per hive. And this treatment is to kill varroa mites. We got started this morning and we had a good start, so I want to show you how this little device works. The carrier's going to load these little caps full of 2 grams, roughly a spoonful patted down. Then we just give these hives a little smoke just to send the bees in so they don't get shot right out the entrance. That little cup gets very hot, so we have to wear gloves. I'm not going to say the bees like this treatment, because they sure fan. They crawl outside and they fan with dust all over them, as they do inside. Look at that vapor going through. It's exposing all the bees within the cluster. A nice even coat of oxalic acid. We continue to monitor as we go through every round we make. We continue to monitor for mites, and we haven't found any mites on this shake at all, which really surprises me, because in the fall generally, when all the brood hatches out, you start getting escalating mite counts. Except for this year. And what I'm crediting the oxalic acid vapor treatment we conducted last fall. We went around with a VM and we blasted the hives twice with 2 grams per hive, and it knocked the mites down then, and we haven't seen counts back since. So I'll tell you just a little bit of a trial I did. Well, we did that, the mite vapor treatment. I left a control yard without the vapor treatment. And before the treatments, we were running 4 to 5%. After the treatments, about a week after the treatments, 0. That control yard went into winter with 4 to 5%. The bees come out of winter last spring a little rough. I think it's because of the mites that were on them that fall. So my overall hive loss by middle May was about 10% losses. Except for my control yard, I experienced a 75% loss right out of the shed. And those living hives still had about 4 or 5% mite counts on them. So that oxalic acid treatment did a lot. And I'm still not seeing any mites right now. So I'm wondering if it wouldn't have got them all, because we're finding a mite here, a mite there, but it got most of those mites. Up here, we run into a broodless period. We've always cursed it. Our winter's pretty long. They're confined for about 5 months. But I'm thinking maybe this broodless period we have up here, we can take advantage of. Those mites aren't hiding, they're all exposed. So if we can target those mites at this time, I think this is going to be a huge advantage for us. With this oxalic acid treatment, it seems to be easy on the bees. It's really cheap. Like, I can treat the whole apiary for 50 bucks. It's a little bit time consuming, but if we see the benefit of killing all these mites, I think we got to look at this.
So the old rule of thumb, kill the mites and eliminate the viral pathogen spread. So that's basically what you got to do. That's all you can do. I determined my viral infestation by gathering up a live sample of bees, and I send it off to the National Bee Diagnostic Center. And they give me a complete viral detection and quantification analysis. And this just helps me determine what kind of viral infection I have in my hives. I'll just give you a quick example here. One of my recent viral tests about 2 years ago, it showed detection of black queen cell virus at a quantification of 519 copies per bee gene, or genes per bee. Now with the deformed wing virus, it showed 735,000 copies of deformed wing virus genes per bee. And that analysis was done on hives with a low varroa infestation. One of my neighbors is telling me about his viral analysis done last year on hives that showed very heavy varroa mite infestations, and he was talking about 40 to 200 million copies of deformed wing genes per bee. That shows a direct relationship between varroa mites and your viral infestations. Okay, nosema infection is one of those unknowns. Just recently, there's a species change from Nosema apis to Nosema cerana, and Nosema cerana reacts a lot differently than apis did. Okay, Nosema cerana fluctuates with higher counts. It responds very unpredictably to fumagillin treatments, and I just can't make any heads or tails of it.
So yeah, I carried through on that trial, and there was a slight improvement with the fumagillin, but then there was a bounce back. It's been very frustrating. There's a stack of papers here to back till 2014 of me testing my hives through all these silly little trials, and I can't find any correlation between treatment and efficacy, or I can't find any correlation between spore count and hive sickness or symptoms. It's got me baffled. I'm just banging my head. I don't think Nosema cerana has been sold to us the way it actually is. I don't know if Nosema cerana is actually affecting our bees the way they think it was going to. Maybe it is in a very subtle way. We just can't see direct measurement of it. But from what I gather, the treatment with fumagillin doesn't seem to be as effective as it used to be. So this fall, I went into winter without a fumagillin treatment. My spore counts going into the shed are under 1 million, the best they've ever been. Is that just environmental, or is that the bees handling it better now, or what's going on? I don't know. But yeah, that's where I am with fumagillin and Nosema. So I think what I'm going to do is just, monitor my Nosema levels and just see where that leads. Use Randy Oliver's sequential sampling. I bought a microscope. I just want to observe to see what's going on and to see if I can find any correlation with anything. I'm not just going to ignore it because it's obviously a gut infection. And I am a livestock producer, and I do believe in a healthy gut in an animal. So that's where I am. And I'll just keep yapping about it from time to time.
The way I measure my Nosema is through composite sampling and through sequential sampling. Two different methods just to help map out the infestation of the Nosema within your hives. The composite sampling is to quantify the infection over your entire operation. But it's not as useful because one hive with a very severe infection can spoil your batch. So I've adopted sequential sampling. This provides the ability to quantify the infection over the entire operation in more of a comprehensive approach. Composite sampling in Nosema involves taking a random sample of bees at the entrance of the hives. So you take 50 or 100 bees, you pack it in alcohol, and then you send it off to a lab. I send it off to the National Bee Diagnostic Center, and they'll give you Nosema counts within that sampling. Just to give you an idea, 2 winters ago, my Nosema counts range between 15 to 75 million spore counts. My bees going into winter this last fall, they're under 1 million spore counts. Sequential sampling is a little bit different, and it just helps us understand the severity of the Nosema infestation within the hives. So what it is just random specific hive sampling. So you take 5 hives and you take a sample from each one of those hives. And from those samples you take 10 bees. And you individually crush them and analyze them through a microscope. Any visible Nosema on the slide equals a positive. And any slide without Nosema visible equals a negative, okay? So if you get 1 positive out of 10 bees analyzed, it's a 10% infestation. We'd count that as being in a safe zone. When you get 4 positives in that 10 bee count, we call that a 30% infestation, and that's creeping into a danger zone, okay? So the degree of infestation will follow suit. So it just kind of shows you a level of infestation within those hives and the level of infested hives within your sampling, okay? So in regards to the treatment of Nosema, there's one product registered. Talk to your provincial apiarist about that. It appears throughout my testing that there has been a species shift from Nosema apis to Nosema cerana, and they're thinking that the Nosema cerana has completely outcompeted the Nosema apis. Nosema cerana has these huge fluctuations of infestation, ranging from like 15 million to 75 million spore counts, and I can't correlate any of that infestation to actual hive sickness or negative hive performance. I'm not making that correlation like we could with Nosema apis. And that follows suit with our treatment regime too. We treat these hives with Nosema cerana, and they are not consistently, predictably reacting to the treatments we give to them. And it's very frustrating. And I'm just following through with the continual monitoring of my infestation just to help me understand what the hell's going on. European foul brood surveillance is constant, like chalk brood disease is constant. European foul brood and chalk brood seem to be very stress-related diseases, so a more proactive approach on managing the European foul brood and chalk brood diseases in your hives is to eliminate all types of stress. But the best thing for European foul brood and chalk brood is sunny weather and fresh forage coming in. So one of the areas I focus on is eliminating colony stresses. One of those stresses is interruption of food coming into the hive. So any and every interruption of available food places stress on the colony as it falls into the state of dearth, okay? And this kind of whips the colony into a conservation mode. Stresses are induced, which opens up the opportunity for diseases to express themselves. So my objective is to provide the hive with a steady food supplement throughout their entire development. As nature falls into dearths, I have feed available on those hives to supplement them so they don't fall into a state of malnutrition or into a state of protein deficiencies. And that just helps keep those hives from falling into those states of stresses. So beekeepers are really good at pointing out the hive's feed deficiencies that are created by monocrop management practices. But beekeepers are very poor at accepting this fact, translating it directly into action to address the situation. Addressing the situation is by providing supplemental feeding to our hives. Pesticide exposure is another huge stress influence onto our hives. Bees have a tremendous ability to metabolize and detoxify chemical products that are brought into the hive. There's a problem though, as some of these toxins brought in, compounding effects put a lot of stress on the bees as they try to metabolize these products. And it only gets worse when beekeepers use mite treatments to control the varroa mite within their hives. And the particular product that we're using right now called Amitraz. Amitraz is like 7,000 times more toxic to mites than it is to honeybees. But what Amitraz does is it binds the enzymes which the bees use to detoxify the pesticides. So when they're exposed with all these incoming pesticides, they can't as effectively detoxify these pesticides, and they overcome with toxicity poisonings. So in effect, our hive treatment's binding our hive's ability to manage and metabolize the incoming pesticides. So I hope I could give you just a little glimpse of what I do in my apiary to control disease. As you can see, I take it very seriously. Contact your provincial or your state apiarist. Get them to help you develop a real solid disease management strategy, because they're the people that are going to help you the most. After you get all that figured out and implement this into your apiary and find efficacy, then maybe you can go on to these commercial sites and provide some feedback for other beekeepers. Just help share the wealth a little bit more. I hope that feedback's been useful. Let me know how you make out and keep in touch.